Good, then thanks for the interest into the C-scale tutorial in respect towards a closer look into the European Earth observation landscape. So my name is Briese, I'm the Managing Director of EODC, and I try to give you a little bit of an insight from my perspective on to show you how C-scale contributes or has contributed and is still contributing towards this European landscape in Earth observation. Yeah, so let's shortly move forward. What I will shortly present to you, for those who are not so familiar with C-scale, just a very quick overview about main objectives of the Horizon project, show you what we have done, and then actually looking towards towards the European landscape before, during, and after C-scale, and a little bit of a summary slide. As we discussed initially in the beginning of the meeting, we will also have a question and answer session and also a discussion afterwards that will not be recorded in the follow-up of the presentation. Yeah, looking back, the Copernicus program, I think you might all be aware about it. It was designed as a program that should be sustainably deliver data services forward in order to basically provide possibilities to observe, model, and also predict processes on the Earth. Nowadays, there's this term of digital twins around that is commonly used, and in general, it has the ambition to support all the European initiatives, so the data strategy, the Green Deal, but also the Destination Earth initiative that has recently also been launched, and provides a huge volume of data towards basically the public in a free and open manner. And and we need to deal with these data volumes. And in order to move ahead, we had initially this idea of setting up the C-scale project. We saw that in 2014, data was started to distribute. It was still a little bit difficult to get access to the data, to process data, and therefore we had the idea to set up an integrated compute and storage infrastructure. We embedded it in the European Open Science Cloud in order to make it available to the scientific community, thinking on one hand on scientists coming from Earth observation, but also beyond. And that was actually the main ambition of the project. So main topics also visibly on the right side: seamless data access, easy processing and analytics, cross-disciplinary research. So that was from the very beginning one of the key elements. We are aware that EO people are well aware about the Copernicus program itself. We also wanted to make results available towards the wider community. And at the end, also thinking about stakeholders. So how can they make use of the gained knowledge and information for upcoming decision making? Project duration was from January 2021 to now end of June 2023. So we are actually at the end of this initial project duration. We have requested a short extension of the project in order to make the access of the services further usable within given project fundings, but nevertheless, we have committed to continue the services independently. Maybe also important to mention, overall, we had 2 million euros of project budget for all the project partners that have been mentioned, or that are also visible here on the lower part of the slide. In general, the project partners are divided into two groups. One group of partners really coming from the EO sector, so that's EODC, Deltares, CESNET, VITO, Cloudfero, and the Technical University in Vienna. And then also organizations rather coming from the E-infrastructure within EOSC. That's EGI, CESNET, again, INFN, SURF, GRNet, and INCD. And as we wanted to embed the EO services and activities also within the community of the European Open Science Cloud. This linkage was from the very beginning thought, especially to make or to allow to use all the infrastructures that are available in EOS on a European domain. So really thinking beyond the EO sector from the very beginning. Project objectives already tackled quickly before, but as it has been written in the proposal, so scaling up the EOS portal, federating available Copernicus resources, providing a Sentinel long-term archive, which was at the point of project start not available within the European Open Science Cloud, and also involving the community with a co-design approach, so that we also get feedback and consider this feedback in the development of the services. Yeah, at the end, what do we have from Zscaler? So we have a service portfolio that is embedded in the European Open Science Cloud, actually presented by 3 items. It's Fed Earth data, it's EO MQS as metadata service, and OpenEO platform that is now all available to be accessed and to be booked from the European Open Science Cloud. And as another element, the community building activities of Zscaler, where we have set up a forum, a discussion group, and also quite a number of different communication channels in order to get in touch with the users. I will quickly look into the services. I think you might be aware about them, but just to mention, so Fed Earth data, that is actually one of the core components. So there's this Zscaler Data Federation, and on top of it, we have on one hand HPC and HTC resources that can be accessed, but also cloud resources. So they are all interconnected. And on top of it, then also OpenEO. Authentication is handled on one hand side with SRAM, on the other hand side with EGI check-in, so that users can also, in a simple manner, access the services on different infrastructure components. Yeah, so that's actually what we have planned and also have reached at the end of the project. Accessibility is given via the EOS Marketplace, where users get information about the service and can actually request access towards it. And then basically a sequence of activities is enrolled in order to provide the service to the end user. Yeah, so that's Fed Earth data. The next thing is the metadata query service, which allows you to discover data on multiple endpoints. With one shared protocol, we have implemented the usage of the stack catalog, so the spatial temporal asset catalog. It is also presented in this slide. And basically, EO MQS is a query broker and aggregator of this metadata information, so that people can easily search for the different interested data that is around in the federation. Yeah, again, accessible via the European Open Science Cloud and as also displayed here on this slide. So I think I don't need to detail that further. Then OpenEO platform. OpenEO is actually, and also OpenEO is an activity that has been developed within a Horizon project on its own, where the aim was to provide different clients and users a single API to access the different backends. So the story is initially you had to adapt towards each backend, and you had to use different APIs in order to communicate with the infrastructures behind. OpenEO, the intention was to have one language that is understood by all the different backends, by an additional layer on top of it, as visible in that figure, so that the communication can be independent of the underlying backend infrastructure. That OpenEO idea was driven forward actually by an ESA project called OpenEO Platform, where different backends showed its operational usage. It has also contributed or was supported by Zscaler activities in order to consider the requirements of our user community here. And as we also see, OpenEO will also have in the upcoming or in the current data space ecosystem also a role being an interface language there. So I think we can already note here that's something that for sure will continue in the future. Access is given via, again, via the marketplace of the European Open Science Cloud, and can also be then finally accessed via the ESA Network of Resources portal. For the community, just a summary slide with 2 links towards the forum and the documentation page of C-Scale, where you can get all other details about services, and where also discussions about the usage of C-Scale can happen. Yeah, now rather looking towards the main topic, looking back and forward towards the European landscape. So the first slide here really looks back. Before we applied for the project, we had in 2014 the launch of Latin 1 with an operational data provisioning starting in 2015. Initially, there was the scientific data hub access available for all the users. So at that point in time known Sci-Hub. That distributed data in an open and free manner towards the community. It was later rebranded towards the Copernicus Open Access Hub that now delivers or provides access towards the bigger volumes of Sentinel data. As we see in the graphic here on the right, data volumes have been now significantly increasing with the additional satellites, with the additional data that is served. In order to support this increase, there have been also in 2016 the Sentinel national mirrors that further distribute the data, supported by also so-called ESA Data Hub relay activities, where the national countries within ESA got priority access to the data and could further distribute the data towards the national member states. So, for example, also in Austria, we have set up such a data infrastructure possibility in order to serve the Austrian users with an additional data access mechanism. Yeah, then in 2018, 5 contracts towards Copernicus data and information access services have been established. That's the so-called well-known Copernicus DIAS platforms. 4 of them operated by ESA. Number 5 proposed by EUMETSAT as the geoDIAS. So they tried to serve as a central access point the users with data and also processing services. Yeah, it turned out that the self-sustainability was not really reached by all of them. So that's why we have currently also new activities going on. I think one important thing to mention is the only DIAS that had from the very beginning a federated concept involved in its setup was the geoDIAS with EUMETSAT. With its harmonized data access, where, for example, EODC already in 2018 has been acting as a federated partner and is still acting as a federated partner in that context. In order to further support users to make use out of infrastructure data services that are established, ESA has invented the ESA Network of Resources, where sponsoring is possible and where also access towards different services, and it's already a long list, can be requested. I think that's actually a quite easy mechanism towards getting access towards data and also on top services in a free manner. However, it turned out that that basically this idea of OpenEO to have one interface is not present. So depending on where you then end up with your service, you have to use different ways in order to consume the service itself. And that's actually why this initial idea of C-Scale came up, where we said, okay, we want to have one federated access towards Copernicus data and also provide one interface in order to perform the processing. So we started beginning of 2021 with the C-Scale kickoff meeting in order to provide these initially presented services. They have been developed stepwise in a manner that we interacted with the use cases from the very beginning in order to see what was required. All other services, basically the Open Access Hub, the national mirrors, the data relays, and also the dialysis have been continuing. Nevertheless, I think Zscaler, also OpenEO platform, have become quite attractive services in order to make use out of this federated service offering. And I think that actually quite, and we could show during Zscaler really that there is a need of this established federated offering, and many of the components and ideas that Zscaler has developed will be driven further, but that's actually something that I will show you at the end. At the end of the Zscaler, we have on one hand the Zscaler services. Next to Zscaler, we have still the situation that the geoinformation continues. So there's a phase 2 that has been funded and that will continue. The ESA DIAS support has been stopped. Some of the DIASes tried to sustain their services on their own, but ESA didn't move forward, or Copernicus didn't move forward in supporting all of them again. Instead of the DIASes, the new Copernicus Data Access Service has been call has been launched and now also is already under operation, the so-called Data Space Ecosystem that is again technically supported or observed by ESA, the development, and currently promoted as the data access service that is available from Copernicus. So instead of 4 DIASes supported by ESA and 1 DIAS by EUMETSAT, we have now 1 Copernicus Data Access Service, and the geoinformation, and maybe also important to note that the Open Access Hub will also be replaced by this data space ecosystem. So later in this year, we will have this transition from all the Open Access Hub towards the data space ecosystem. In addition to that, the geoinformation and the Copernicus Data Access Service, European Commission launched another initiative that is called Destination Earth, where we have the 3 agencies, EUMETSAT, ESA, and ECMWF, being acting in providing on one hand a data lake service that is initiated by EUMETSAT, the core service platform by ESA, and then also as practical examples, also digital twins operated by ECMWF, where they focus on a weather-induced and geophysical extremes digital twin and a climate change adaptation digital twin, as I mentioned, steered by ECMWF. So that's actually the second big component that is currently developed and that shall provide access to Copernicus, but also towards other data and services in that context and in the wider context, I actually have to say. Yeah, as a third element, we also have the EC data space initiatives around, where there are also quite a number of data space calls supporting the Green Deal, agriculture, energy, and so on, towards an easy access of data and an easy access of services. So we still have now, at the end of Zscaler, quite fragmented support activities from the European Commission, which is on one hand focusing on Copernicus Data Access Service, the geoinformation. We have then as Destination Earth around, and still then a lot of further initiatives towards data spaces, which look at Copernicus, but also the much wider context of data. Yeah, so that's actually how the situation roughly looks like at the moment. Looking at how Zscaler has contributed, I think one important development was the introduction usage of the stack data catalog that is now basically available in all these new services. And next to it, also this idea of a federated concept can be found in Destination Earth, but also in the data space ecosystem. So I think really that with these concepts and ideas of Zscaler, we have really strongly contributed to shape the future of these ideas significantly. OpenEO platform, that will be a service that will be offered independently of the end of the project further. It's also a federated service, so we have different data providers, we have different processing backends in the end. So I think that also nicely showed that idea of federated platforms within Europe can work and can really support the user. We have furthermore, as a result of C-Scales, this infrastructure as a service federation based on the cloud providers, but also on the HPC side, where I think also these ideas we find again in Destination Earth. We might find it, or we already find it also in the data space ecosystem. So I think this federated, distributed infrastructures within Europe is for sure something that we have proposed in C-Scale and that we will continue to be around in the European landscape. Yeah, OpenEO as a solution for the workflow, I think that's a quite interesting concept. Currently, we also see that OpenEO is mentioned that basically all big activities that are around, it seems to be really something that was required in order to simplify the interaction with the different backends. It allows these reusable algorithms and workflows, so for science, but also for practical applications. And I think, therefore, that might be developed further and will be around also now in the future. Yeah, so summarizing this, I would say federation ideas, the data cataloging also in a federated manner based on stack, and really also the OpenEO as a common interface language is the main output of the project, and is also really something that will sustain further also in the future. Also to mention, we also aim to provide the services after the project and further. So the services will stay in EOSC, and we also try to do our best to make the service accessible in a hopefully easy and cheap manner also in the future. And I think the whole consortium has the idea to shape also the future further. So I think that's all in our intention. Yeah, with this, I'm already at the end of the presentation. Thank you for your attention, and I think we can move forward towards questions and the discussion afterwards.